Have you ever sat in silence just for a moment and asked yourself, when did things change between me and my children? You spent years, decades raising them. You changed diapers, stayed up through sleepless nights, kissed scraped knees, and soothed broken hearts. You celebrated their victories and held them through their defeats. You gave up weekends, vacations, even your own dreams so theirs could come true. And now when you speak, they interrupt. When you offer advice, it's brushed off. When you need help, suddenly they're too busy. Worst of all, you feel invisible. Like somehow you faded into the background of a life you helped build. If that feeling is familiar, you're not alone. Many parents reach a moment when everything begins to shift. Once you were the protector, the teacher, the one they ran to for everything. Now it feels like they barely see you. You speak, but your voice doesn't seem to carry the same weight. Sometimes you're treated like a nuisance. Other times it feels worse, like a burden. That kind of pain? It cuts deeper than almost anything else. And it's natural to want to fight back. To say, do you remember all I've done for you? To shout, to withdraw, to beg for some recognition. But the truth might surprise you, demanding respect rarely brings it back. What works is far more powerful and far more dignified. There are real, quiet changes you can begin to make right now. Not to guilt them, not to argue, but to remind them and yourself who you truly are. It starts with one of the most common traps, trying too hard to please them. Have you ever said yes when you really wanted to say no just to keep the peace? Have you rearranged your entire day to babysit the grandkids even when you weren't feeling well? Or maybe you let them speak to you in a way that made your stomach turn just so you wouldn't seem difficult? Many parents do. Out of love, out of habit. But here's the thing, the more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. Not because they're bad or ungrateful, but because people, by nature, tend to respect what stands firm, not what always yields. I remember Margaret. She raised 3 children with everything she had. But as she aged, she started stepping aside. She let them decide what happened in her home, with her health, even with her finances. I just want to keep the family together, she said. But the more she gave in, the less they listened. What she thought was kindness, they saw as someone who didn't need to be taken seriously. Respect doesn't come from sacrifice. It comes from self-respect. When you constantly put yourself second, you send a quiet message. My time, my needs, my voice don't matter as much. And the people around you, your children included, respond to that. So if this sounds like you, let me say it clearly. It's time to stop bending over backwards. It's okay to say no. It's okay to set limits. You are allowed to speak up when something doesn't feel right. You are allowed to take up space. Respect begins with you. The more you honor your own boundaries, the more others will too. Not by being rude, but by standing tall in your truth. Then there's the urge to argue. When someone talks down to us, the instinct is to fight back. To say, how dare you? Or to remind them, do you remember all I've done for you? And while those reactions are completely understandable, they rarely help. Instead of fighting for respect, start leading with it. When you meet disrespect with calm, measured confidence, it changes everything. It says, I don't need to raise my voice. I know who I am. Take Frank, a retired teacher. In his classroom, he had the respect of generations. But at home, his adult children barely listened. They mocked his advice, dismissed his concerns. He used to argue, every conversation a battle, and still nothing changed, until he stopped fighting. He shared his thoughts calmly without trying to win. He stopped chasing respect and started living it. And slowly something shifted. His children began to notice. Not because he yelled louder, but because he no longer played the same old game. That's the power of quiet strength. You don't have to demand to be seen. Just carry yourself like someone who already is. And here's something even deeper. You don't need your children to fulfill you emotionally. Yes, you love them with all your heart. But when your happiness depends on how often they call, how sweet they are, or how much they do for you, the dynamic changes, and not in your favor. People respect those who are emotionally independent. Helen knew this pain well. She'd given everything to her children, but when they moved away, she was lost. She called every day, reminded them how much she missed them, and they began to pull away. She didn't understand. She was giving love. Why weren't they giving it back? Then Helen made a different choice. She joined a dance class. She went out for lunch with friends. She started reading again, painting again, laughing again. And do you know what happened? Her phone began to ring. Her children wanted to hear about her life. They missed her, not just her attention, because she wasn't chasing their presence anymore. She was attracting it by living fully. So if your chest aches when they don't call or your heart sinks when they don't visit, remind yourself your worth isn't defined by their attention. It lives within you. And as you nurture that inner light, others will feel it. Respect it. Return to it. But none of that is complete without something essential: boundaries. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about teaching others how to treat you. Many adult children push boundaries not out of malice, but because the boundaries were never clearly drawn in the first place. If your children interrupt you, make big decisions without your input, or speak to you dismissively, it may be because somewhere along the way it was silently allowed. Love without boundaries turns into resentment, and silence over time becomes permission. Robert understood this too well. A respected businessman, but at home his children rolled their eyes when he spoke, dismissed his ideas. He stayed quiet until one night his son snapped at him at dinner. That night Robert waited. Then calmly, firmly he said, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect to be spoken to with respect. If that's not possible, I'll remove myself from the conversation." No threats, no yelling, just clarity. And over time it worked. His children didn't lose access to him, but they realized they had to earn his engagement. Boundaries are not about control. They're about clarity. And when you get clear, others show up differently. There's another pattern many parents fall into: giving and giving without appreciation. You show up. You offer help. You lend money, time, energy without expecting much in return. But when they don't say thank you or take it for granted, it stings. George knew this pain. Always the helper, he gave endlessly. Rearranged doctor appointments to babysit. Lent money without question. But when he needed support after a minor surgery, no one showed up. That was the turning point. No more automatic yes. From then on, he only helped when it was needed and appreciated. He didn't become bitter, he became clear. And soon his children noticed. They said thank you. They called ahead. Because the help was no longer expected, it was valued. You don't have to stop being kind. But kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's a disservice to you and to them. And maybe it's time to ask yourself, who am I outside of being a parent? You are not just a giver. Not just someone who sacrificed. You are a person with your own dreams, identity, and time. Maybe you told yourself, I'll start focusing on me once the kids are settled. Well, they're settled. So now what fills your cup? Because when your children see you living, not just waiting, they admire you. They're drawn to you. Not out of guilt, but because you radiate dignity and purpose. You're not here just to serve. You're here to live. Take the trip. Join the group. Try the class. Laugh again. Create again. Breathe again. And when you do, something magical happens. Your children begin to see you not just as mom or dad, but as someone with a vibrant life of their own. As you begin to speak up, set limits, and stop waiting for their approval, the dynamic shifts. The weight lifts. The tension eases. Not because they changed, but because you did. Respect isn't something you fight for. It's something you inspire quietly, steadily, by the way you live. You matter. Not for what you've done. Not for what you give. But simply because you are you. So maybe today, just ask, where am I still giving my power away? Is it in the way you always say yes? Stay silent? Wait for approval? Wherever that is, start there. Take one small step. Say, I have other plans today, but I'd love to see you another time. Say, I deserve to be spoken to respectfully. Or simply do something just for you. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin. Because the moment you start living with self-respect, the world, including your children, begins to respond differently. And if you felt that quiet ache of being overlooked, know this, you deserve better. Not because of the past, but because of who you are right now. You are strong. You are worthy. And you are not alone. Live with dignity, and that alone sends the most powerful message you ever could.